So, you want to move to Palm Coast, Florida, but you were so confused about what everyone's talking about with sections? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Demystifying the Palm Coast sections and subdivisions. We'll talk about the B section, the W section. We'll show you where the hammock is. All of that and so much more. We're going to jump in my computer, look at a map so we can see how everything is spaced out, and that way, when you guys come here, you'll have a much better understanding of where everything is and be a little less confused about all the sections of Palm Coast. We're going to get after it right now. All right, so we're now in my computer and are going to take a deep dive at the sections of Palm Coast. If this is your first time to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button below, tap the bell for notifications, and you'll be the first to get notified anytime we have a new video that's all about Palm Coast, Florida living and moving to the greater Northeast Florida area. My name is Stephanie Schulis. I'm with Keller Williams Realty, and we get calls, texts, and emails from people just like you every day who are making their move to Palm Coast, Florida, and we absolutely love it. So whether you're looking to make a move in the next 9 days or 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. Contact information is going to be in the description below, and we'll be happy to help you make a smooth move to Palm Coast, Florida. Now, one of the first questions you're probably going to have about Palm Coast is what the heck is with all the sections I keep hearing about? And don't worry, you're not the only one. The Palm Coast sections don't have too much rhyme or reason to it. They're not laid out in an alphabetical order. So for example, it doesn't go A, B, C, D. There are some sections that don't exist, like the D section. The sections are simply called the sections because the homes or the streets in that section all start with the same first letter. So for example, the B section, all of the streets in there all start with a B. The C section, they're all going to start with a C, and so on and so forth. The sections are not the same thing as a subdivision. Some subdivisions have multiple sections. Some sections span multiple subdivisions. So there's really no rhyme or reason other than the street name. And again, they're not laid out alphabetically. So it can get a little confusing. If you look at the map on the screen here, you'll kind of see how it's all laid out from the north end of Palm Coast down to the south end of Palm Coast. You'll note that when we're talking about Palm Coast, we are talking about the city of Palm Coast. The hammock here, that's on this side of A1A, is unincorporated Palm Coast. It's part of Flagler County. It is part of Palm Coast from a U.S. Postal Service standpoint and an address standpoint, but it is not part of the city of Palm Coast, and therefore it is not subject to sections and kind of the street naming that Palm Coast City does. Other places that are exempt from that are going to be your developed communities. So your gated communities and your master planned communities do not fall into the same street naming cadence that the rest of Palm Coast City does. To start us off, we'll start up in the north up here. This is going to be the Matanzas Woods subdivision, also known as the L section. If you've watched other videos that I've done on Palm Coast, you've probably heard me reference that this is where a lot of the new development and growth is kind of happening in Palm Coast. Through here is all fairly developed. There's not many places left to go. So we are seeing it here and a little bit down here. So if you were looking for a return on your investment, the L section or the Matanzas Woods subdivision would be a good place to start. It is sandwiched between 95 here and US 1 here, and is at the kind of, again, the northern tip of Palm Coast. So it's a little further removed from Palm Coast Parkway, which runs across the center of the city here, and kind of just all those development shops and restaurants and things like that that come along with the center of the town. Just below the L section is the Indian Trails subdivision, also known as the B section here. This is often considered one of Palm Coast's most popular neighborhoods. It's between 95 here and stops just short of US 1 here. It's got the Belle Terre Elementary and the Indian Trails Middle School. Because of its proximity to Palm Coast Parkway, it's got a lot of shops and restaurants. It's also close to the Pine Lakes subdivision and golf course down there and things like that. So that's the B section and the Indian Trail subdivision here. Next to that, we have Palm Harbor. Palm Harbor is the subdivision and it contains two sections. It has both the C section and the F section. The C section is one of the sections that I get a lot of confusion around because the C section is where a lot of these saltwater canal homes are located. I often hear that the C section is the canal section and connects this letter C with the canals. That's not actually how it works. There are other sections, such as the F section, that do have saltwater canal homes, and there are several freshwater canal homes in the B section as well. So connecting C with canal in the C section isn't really how that one goes. The C section is just called the C section because the streets in that section all start with a C. Some nice things about Palm Harbor here, the subdivision here, is that it is one of the closest to the beach. So it's a very short drive up over on Matanzas or Palm Coast Parkway here, over the bridge there, and get you right over into beach access. So that's a nice desirable thing. Again, it's close to Palm Coast Parkway, so it's got all that shopping. It also has Matanzas Woods Parkway that gets you right onto 95 up through here through the north. So really easy to get around if you're on if you're in Palm Harbor looking for things. There's also super easy access to European Village, which again, if you've watched other videos, you know is kind of where we have our little outdoor European styled shops and restaurants and bars. There's usually some live music and you get to walk around and mingle and kind of just feel like you're in a small little Italian village. So that's where European Village is in Palm Harbor, next to the C and F sections there. As we come down into the center of Palm Coast, we're going to start off with the W section and the Pine Lakes subdivision. The Pine Lake subdivision is where the Pine Lakes Country Club and the Arnold Palmer Golf Course are. So that's all right in here. You'll see a lot of luxury golf villas and condominiums in the W section. There's not a ton of vacant home sites in the W section left. Like I mentioned, most of those throughout Palm Coast are getting harder and harder to find now, and we're kind of having to go to the northern and southern ends to expand on individual lot builds there. Here we have the first P section. There are two P sections within Palm Coast. This one here is part of the Belle Terre subdivision. And this one here is part of the Pine Grove subdivision. The Belle Terre subdivision and P section, it's going to be closer to 95 and closer to Palm Coast Parkway. The streets in there all start with a PA, a PE, and a PR. That's where the Belle Terre Swim and Racket Club are. It's where Wadsworth Elementary and Buddy Taylor Middle School. And if I had to pick a section that was kind of the geographic midpoint of Palm Coast, this is where we're going to be talking about, is this Belle Terre P section here. Over here, We've got the Woodlands, also known as the BL section. It's kind of one of the little hidden gems on the eastern end of Palm Coast Parkway. And it's one of the earliest parts to really be settled down in Palm Coast. You can see homes starting from the 70s in there. And because of that, there's a lot more well-established landscaping and trees kind of throughout that section. It's going to border Old Kings and obviously have access through 95 right through here and Palm Coast Parkway here. It's pretty easy to jump up here and get on to the Hammock Dunes Bridge and get over to your beach access through there. Next up is we have Lehigh Woods and the R section. Again, all of the streets here, excuse me, are going to start with the letter R. So, for example, Ray Drive, R-A-E Drive, Ray Street, things like that. It can get a little confusing driving through all of the sections. Thank goodness for smartphones and our GPS always being in our pockets these days, right? The R section is going to be pretty close to kind of some of our more southern shopping areas that are off by by 100. So that's going to be the Target, the high school, and things like that. So that can be a draw. There is the Rimfire Elementary that is located within the R section. Then it's also really close to the E section, which is becoming a popular area as well. Next to the R section is we have that second P section. So this is going to be part of Pine Grove. The streets here all start with PI, PO, and PH. There's going to be lots of amenities from Pine Lakes and Belle Terre, as well as, again, being pretty close to 100 and the beach access down on the southern end of the county here. The E section here is Cypress Knoll subdivision. It has a golf course in there as well. That's the Cypress Knoll Golf Club. And it's really starting to become a very popular area within Palm Coast. It's close to 100 and all that 100 has to offer. It's easy to get to from 95 and 1 and kind of just in the middle. It's still not too far from the parkway here, from Palm Coast Parkway here. So it's really just got a lot to offer in that little section right there. And all of the streets do start with an E. Next up here would be Quail Hollow subdivision, and that's got 3 sections that run through it. You've got the Z section where all of the streets are going to start with Z. You've got the L section where they all start with an L, or sorry, a double L. And then you've got the K section where the streets start with a K. Obviously, it's got 100 to the north of it here for all of your shopping needs there. And then access off of US 1 here, then 195 there. It's nice because it's removed from some of the hustle and bustle that Palm Coast can have, but still give you pretty close proximity and access to some of the city's many offerings. If you're looking to go south down to Daytona frequently, it's a good location because it'll save you quite a bit of time not having to cut through Palm Coast to get kind of access to our neighbors down in the south there. Next to Quail Hollow is Seminole Woods. That's this section right through here. Seminole Woods has both the S section and the U section. When I think of Seminole Woods, I do think a lot more of open spaces. You're not going to have the acreage that you would have if you were looking in Belle, which is right over here, but you are going to have you're not going to see as many shops and restaurants and things like that down in the S and U sections. You're a little bit more removed, a little more quiet, but you do still have some really nice features like public parks with playgrounds and tennis courts and things like that in it. So you still have a lot of nice amenities. You're close to US 1 and very close to Flagler Beach here. So that's a big draw here. Most of the homes here, you're going to be about 10 minutes away from the beach in the S section, which is always a nice point. So that's it for the sections and the subdivisions of Palm Coast. Within sections, you can find your gated communities and your HOA communities that kind of have their own thing apart from whatever's going on in the section and subdivision. And then again, the beach here is part of unincorporated, so is not included when we talk about Palm Coast sections. If you have any further questions about the sections, please feel free to leave a comment below, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. Contact information will be in the description below. We look forward from hearing from you and hoping you make a smooth move to Palm Coast, Florida. We'll see you on the next video.